Exactly what I wanted to do for the rest of my life because of James Brown. I love you. The top secret recording from James Brown's funeral is no longer just a rumor. It exists. It echoes. And it exposes words Michael Jackson spoke that left the world speechless. They weren't ordinary farewells, but fiery declarations that tore through the solemn atmosphere and sowed an unprecedented sense of dread. People heard a buried truth, a secret that should have never been revealed. And from that moment, the legacies of two legends became inextricably linked by a dark, unbreakable thread. The funeral suddenly became the scene of a historical shock, leaving a haunting question. What did Michael Jackson truly know about James Brown? James Brown left this life in the final days of 2006. Just as the world was immersed in the festive season, the news came too fast, too unexpectedly, leaving fans across the globe stunned. People said that modern music had lost one of its greatest pillars, and anyone who grew up with his distinct raspy scream felt as if a part of their youthful memory had been mercilessly torn away. James Brown was not simply a singer or an entertainer. He was the embodiment of perseverance, a living testament that a man could rise from the deepest poverty and redefine an entire culture. With his dance moves, shouts, and powerful melodies, Brown became the voice of a generation that had endured many invisible limitations, and he broke through them all with his music. His funeral was held with great solemnity at a church in Augusta, Georgia. It was not just an ordinary farewell service, but a symbolic event that drew thousands, from fans to the most influential figures in music and entertainment. The atmosphere was thick with muffled sobs mixed with awe. The gilded coffin was placed majestically in the brightly lit hall, surrounded by white flowers, both majestic and sorrowful. People lined up for a long time to see him one last time, to whisper personal goodbyes to a legend who had changed their lives with his music. Among the faces present that day, Michael Jackson stood out the most. To the world, he was the king of pop, but on the day of the funeral, he was simply a student bowing his head to his teacher. Michael had often admitted that James Brown was the person who showed him what true performance art was. He had repeatedly said that without Brown, there would be no Michael Jackson as people knew him. So when Michael walked in, the entire hall fell silent. Everyone knew they were witnessing not just one great artist bidding farewell to another, but a moment of intersection between two icons, a fated transition. What made this funeral so special was not its glamour or the number of stars present, but the heavy contradiction in the atmosphere. On one side was the image of James Brown, glorious, immortal, celebrated to the fullest on his final day, but on the other were the dark shadows surrounding his passing. Many who were in the hospital during his final hours recounted that Brown did not pass away peacefully. He spoke incomprehensible, weary words as if he was trying to convey something. A close manager once recalled hearing Brown himself utter a short but haunting phrase, "They got me." And then there was silence. No one knew exactly what he meant, and no one dared to conclude. But that statement, ever since it was revealed, has always lingered like a mystery. The story became even more ominous when a nurse who worked at the hospital claimed she saw a stranger sneak into Brown's room shortly before his condition worsened. This person, according to her, acted strangely with a breathing tube, then quickly left. There was no evidence, no images, only the memory of one witness. But that was enough to plant a seed of doubt in the public's mind. Was everything really that simple? Was the passing of a legend just due to illness? Or was there something else being hidden in the shadows? These fragmented details made the funeral an extraordinary event. Fans came to say goodbye, but left with heavy questions in their hearts. What happened in the hospital was never clearly answered, and Brown's vague whispers before he passed away made everyone uneasy. Therefore, when the audience witnessed Michael Jackson bending down, leaning slightly over the coffin, everyone held their breath. They didn't know what he said. They only saw his lips move and the profound sadness in the eyes of a person who had endured the same harsh scrutiny as Brown, a person who understood the loneliness of fame better than anyone. That very moment, the moment Michael bowed his head by the casket, became the focal point of all discussion. Some believed he was just whispering a normal farewell, a private way to close a bond that had lasted for decades. But others were certain that someone had recorded this moment, and that the secret tape held a truth that would send a shiver down anyone's spine. From a small gesture, a seemingly harmless whisper, a whole series of theories began to ignite. That tape, though only mentioned in leaks, became the center of an emotional storm, and it made the already somber funeral even thicker with mystery. James Brown's funeral, therefore, was not just the closing of a great musical journey. It was also like a final stage where secrets were hinted at, where unanswered questions echoed beneath the funeral dirge. People left with teary eyes, but at the same time they carried with them a curiosity and bewilderment that never subsided. A tape, a whisper, a bowed head. All were enough to turn that ceremony into the beginning of a story that would haunt people even longer than the immortal melodies James Brown left behind. The atmosphere of the funeral that day was covered in a haunting silence. The grand church in Augusta, Georgia, seemed to be suffocated by the crowd trying to bid farewell to the godfather of soul for the last time. Famed figures in music, politics, and entertainment were all present. But no one drew more attention than Michael Jackson, the man with the white glove, the signature fedora, and a lost gaze as if his soul was drifting in another world. People said that Michael came to the funeral not just as a star, but as a son who had lost his father. He and James Brown had a special bond from the time Michael was a young boy on stage with the Jackson 5. Brown was not just an idol, but also a role model, the one who taught Michael to understand the power of the stage, of the scream, of every dance move. When the coffin was opened for fans and friends to say their final goodbyes, Michael slowly walked over. His every step seemed heavier than 1,000 burdens. He knelt down, placed his trembling hand on the coffin, and bowed his head very low. That image instantly became an iconic moment. But no one in the hall at that time heard what Michael whispered. It was only years later when a secret tape was released that the world was shaken. In the tape, which was allegedly recorded from a hidden microphone of a technical staff member, Michael's voice could be heard, soft, trembling, but clear. "You are my greatest inspiration. They will never understand what you truly gave the world." This statement immediately became the focus of a heated debate. Was Michael simply expressing his gratitude to his idol? Or did the words contain a hidden reproach, a rebellion against the way the world had treated James Brown in his final years? What shocked the public was not only the meaning, but the fact that the tape was kept secret for so many years until it leaked like a truth that had been buried for too long.